For your goodness and your grace, and the wonders of your ways, and the miracles you constantly amaze me with, I'll testify.
Hi, I'm McKinney Hammond, and I have the pleasure and the honor of having my little daughter Tega with me today. She is the life of my life. Okay, I'm just going to say that first of all. She keeps me moving. She keeps me thinking. She keeps me screaming. She keeps me doing a lot of stuff. But one of the things I love about talking with Tega is I get to find out what young people are thinking about today. She definitely has her ear on the pulse. So she keeps me in touch. She keeps me young. She keeps me current. She keeps me busy. She keeps me a lot of things. So I decided that we would do a special segment on the podcast called Mentoring Moments for Millennials. I get a lot of mail. I get a lot of DMs asking, would I mentor this sector of people? And I love millennials because they are fearless, they are active, they are zealous, they are passionate, they are creative. I think they're an exciting group of up and coming people in our generation. And I think that sometimes because we're older and we were raised differently, we tend to spend a lot of time with our hair on fire over things they do and say. But I think that we've got a lot to learn from them, and they've got a lot to learn from us. And that's what this exchange is all about. Sharing and exchanging ideas and coming to an understanding of why we see life the way we do based on our background, our experiences, and our upbringing. So I hope that you'll enjoy this segment. We will be doing it once a month. So if you've got questions or things that you want to bring up, millennials out there, you can always send us a mail at admin@michellehammond.com, and we will make sure we fit it into a segment somewhere along the way in our broadcast. Okay? Great!
Okay, please give the disclaimer.
She's asking me to give you a disclaimer because let me say that Tega is a lovely young woman. She is a godly woman. However, when she is interviewing me and we're having these exchanges, she sometimes plays the devil's advocate in things that people are thinking but don't have the nerve to say. So please do not beat her up after the broadcast. She's merely bringing up and voicing sentiments that have been voiced but usually are not raised in the forum where they can get good answers. So that's our disclaimer for Tega before we begin.
Please don't come for me. Thank you.
I love it.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about today? Our very first episode of Mentoring Moment. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was thinking the other day as I was discussing with a friend some of the maddening things about millennials. And we came to a conclusion that I thought was an important conclusion. Mm-hmm. And that is that we were raised vastly different.
Very, very, very different.
And so we cannot really blame you for the mindset that you have because you were raised different. And so it made me think about what are some things I would like millennials to know. I think the first one is that you need to know that you won't always have a millennial mindset.
Won't we though? See, okay, here's the thing. With my generation, I was born in the 90s. So we are the first crop of millennials that came up. So we saw the changes, and then we are living in the changes. So like the 2000 children don't know anything about a Walkman or a stereo, but that's what started the whole technology millennial mindset that has changed the world today. But even you say that you still feel 30. So
yes,
in your mind, you're always 30.
Different though. I'm talking about values. I'm talking about personal habits even. I feel like we were raised in a much stricter family unit. Mm-hmm. There were definite boundaries created, things that you did and you did not do. somehow or other, the mindset settled in that people didn't want their children to go through what they had gone through.
Yeah.
And they relaxed their hold. So I feel like millennials are like the middle children or the youngest child.
Yeah.
Which were the ones that got spoiled. You know, the first child was
the experiment.
And oh my gosh, we had it hard. I was the first child and I was an only child for many years. And let me tell you, I was brought up in a very strict household. You got spanked for everything. Oh, we don't spank anymore because you might go to jail, you know.
Don't spank anymore.
Don't spank anymore.
We don't let other people correct our kids.
Yes, don't let other people correct your children.
Yep.
And so there tends to breed a lack of respect for authority, to be perfectly honest. And also sense of entitlement, because you've been given a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Because parents didn't want you to struggle.
But here is the thing, sorry to interrupt. With lack of respect for authority, the flip side of it is that we are questioning now everything. For example, take those of you in Africa, you know what's happening in Nigeria right now, where the youth are protesting against police brutality.
Yes.
And I saw a tweet that said, for those parents calling us rude, this is something you should have done that we don't have to be doing today. We started the whole questioning why or doing this. So is it really a lack of respect for authority, or is just because we are now asking questions? Maybe the way we are asking is not right.
I think that there are appropriate questions, and I do believe in protesting against horrible things. And actually, our generation also did have an era of protest when we were about your age. And that leads back to my first point, that you will not always have that mindset, because what happens is I think there's a season of life, Tega, where you're much more zealous and more passionate, and then life wears people down. And as they get older, the energy is not there anymore. What I do promote is that our generation see the promise of your generation and encourage you in the right ways, so that all of that energy is channeled in the right areas. I applaud the young people that are on the streets protesting now and raising questions against the establishment, because there are a lot of things that we relaxed and allowed to take place. So I'll give you a point on that.
You give me a point?
We had a scoreboard.
Millennial won.
I think it'd be Millennial won, my generation won. Okay.
And then again, something else is, I was also reading something, and then she actually did apologize to me, because there was an older lady saying, as an older woman, think about legacy, mentor the young ones, and this woman just woke up and started typing, millennials don't listen. You try to tell them what to do, they don't listen. I was like, say some. Because there are some of us who are going through rigorous mentoring sessions in our life that rips our hearts in shreds. Okay, it's not all.
She's trying to throw a little shade and a hint over here, but
it's not all of us.
The Lord chastens those He loves. Let me just throw that into the mix.
So.
But you're right.
When it comes
you
to,
know what I think that what happens is, I think millennials don't listen when they feel that they're being talked down to.
Which happens a lot, because they think we don't know what we're saying. We are children. We have not experienced anything.
In some cases, you don't. There is a generally speaking, there's a general attitude that you know what you're doing.
But what if we do though?
Well, you don't all the time.
But we do.
You don't. You don't. And I think that it takes, the word says two are better than one. And sometimes it's not so much that you're wrong, but there's a better way to do it. There's a more efficient way to do it. There's a way to work smart and not hard. And sometimes if you're not listening, you set your nose to doing a specific thing that was completely unnecessary. So I think that we need to value not just listening to one another, but really hearing what's being said. And I think a lot of times there is a defense mechanism that comes into play. Instead of being open and offensive, to believe, and when I say offensive, not in the sense of offense,
Yeah.
but coming from a place where you're in a position to benefit from what's being said.
Yeah.
I'll take myself as an example. When I was 21 and started working at Burrell Advertising, you couldn't tell me anything. I was creative, I was hot, I was the golden girl on the block.
But you were. That's the point.
Yeah.
Weren't you?
However, I forgot who I was working for. And so the consequences of that was I got fired.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to spend a very humbling year eating crow and not much else.
Say the end of the story. Did they or did they not rehire you?
They rehired me.
Because?
Because I was good. However, they did not want a problem. And I think that what we've got to understand is that gifts are plenteous.
Mm-hmm.
Character is not.
No, it's not.
And there's always a lot of people in place who have the gifting, who have character that can take your place if you don't want to work on character. So character development is extremely important for millennials. And what I learned from the exercise of unemployment for a year, living in poverty for a year almost, was that, my job was about me serving the people who were paying me, not being the hot shot and showing off what Michelle can do. And if the client wants something different, I need to be willing to listen to that. And that doesn't mean that I lose myself or my creativity in the middle of it. But if I'm that creative and if I'm that good, I can give the client what I want and still do what I want too. And so it's the difference between I'm doing this the way I want to do it and how can I make this work for you? And that was my evolution, so to speak, of learning how to do what I want, but in the context of the people who were paying me also getting their needs met. And that's not a bad lesson to learn because that applies to all relationships, even marriage. If you've got a husband that doesn't want to listen to his wife or what her needs are, what do we have? We have a disaster.
Yes, we
If
do.
we've got a wife that doesn't want to listen to what her husband wants, we have a disaster. He wants an orange, she decides he doesn't need an orange. Here, take a banana instead. Well, guess what? If she doesn't want to give him an orange, there's another woman out there willing to give him the orange. And she loses in the equation of being her authentic self, as she might want to put it.
Yeah.
So I think that what millennials need to know is that it's not that deep.
Yeah.
Be willing to listen and see how you can integrate where you're coming from with what the other person is saying.
True. Well, please don't come for me, millennials. Sometimes some of you don't have character. Let's just call a spade and be truthful, which can make the older people not like us.
Yes.
Which I get it. It's I mean, I've seen some millennials where it's like they did not beat you as a child. Nobody slapped you.
Yeah. You make your mama look bad. That's the way I put it.
So it can I get the tension sometimes where it's just like I don't even want to deal with these people. I mean, go ahead, burn.
She's a millennial and she says that. I think she's gotten kind of old hanging out with me all the time.
Yes,
But
I have. Crash and burn. So my friends and I were I introduced one of my best friends to one of your friends. And she was going through some things, and then I was like, you need to talk to this woman, she should help you out. And so like a month ago she said, I'm upset. I was like, why? And she's like, you never told me how mentoring is so good, so you've been letting me burn all these years. And I was like, yeah, I mean, when I started, you thought I was crazy. So some people just need to learn through life experience. Like we were having a conversation, I was like, maybe your life, you need to live it to learn it. Me, Tega, I don't have to live it. Please tell me don't do it. I will not do it. I really don't have to live it to learn it. But millennials want to live it to know. I mean, there's a saying that you have to die. Some people have to die before they realize that death is real.
yeah.
And
or as we would say, you don't believe fat meat is greasy till you get burned.
True.
Fat meat is greasy.
till you get burnt.
Uh-huh.
So for millennials, it's like, let me do it. I mean, I know you're trying to help me, whatever, but there's a new way to doing it. Mom, stop being old. Like when I said she was old, and then the internet came for me that she was behaving like an old church mother, which she does all the time. It's like, jokes, mom, laugh. That's not funny. Jesus is like, oh Lord God.
Well, you know, I had a mentor and I still have mentors. Every mentor has a mentor, because the value of having mentors in your life is that they see the things that you don't see. We can be very myopic in vision about different things. So that's my other lesson or thing for millennials to see is, don't be myopic. Open your scope of vision. Consider other options. You know, as we move forward in life, the more options we have, the more successful we'll be. Okay. If we insist on one way of life, that becomes a Moby Dick. You know, Moby Dick, he took that guy down with the ship. He was so determined to capture Moby Dick that he didn't see all the other whales that he could have been capturing. So sometimes it's very important for us to be open, and that's for all of us across the board, even for my generation, to be open. I have to admit that I've learned a lot from Tega. You know, she always has a different perspective, a different viewpoint, and sometimes I shut down and go no, and I can become very resistant. And then there are other times,
yes, she can.
But I'll go back to my room. This is how I operate, you know, is I go and counsel with myself, and then I review what's been said. And I'm not ashamed to say when I'm wrong, when I'm sorry, when I missed it. And I think that it's important for both of us to be able to do that, to be able to say, hey, I didn't get that one right. And, you know, that's humanity. Neither of us have divinity yet. So allow one another humanity. Don't expect divinity from humanity. We are learning daily. We are works in progress. And we never stop learning until we leave here. It's very, very important to know that there's always some, even when you know something, with the way life shifts and changes, there's always a new piece of information. So sometimes you have to wade through a lot of stuff you know to get to the piece that you don't know that improves what you already know. If that makes any sense.
Speaking of this, I remember a story when during this lockdown, when you called me that you had one of your friends was upset because you showed her a video of this YouTube guy who talks about like church stuff, and then so she was upset for like, why would you show me this? What's the point of his video? He's trying to criticize. Why is he not looking at the good side of da-da-da? And then you were like, well, da-da. And then I said, for example, take it that somebody shows me a video of you criticizing your book. I don't care what the person is saying. Please don't talk about her. I'ma come for you Christian way. I don't want to hear your side of the story. I don't care. So I was saying that's how your friend felt in the moment of when you were talking about, oh, maybe he's trying to come from another angle to look at what they were doing or whatever. But she's like, whatever they are doing, their point is pointing Jesus back to God. So why can't he focus on that rather than? So it was an exchange we had that you were like, well, you're right, maybe she was looking at it differently. So that's just an example to what she was saying about not being like myopic in your thinking. And it's even for both the mentor and the mentee. And for mentors, please, your mentor is not God. Don't think that they will offend. They will sometimes you will not agree, and leave it at that. You don't have to you people will not agree on every single thing that's you true. People are having, even though you're not being myopic or whatever. You're just not gonna see on some things, and that's fine and that's okay. And they're not God. So most of you that are working around with church hurts and mentor hurts, you expected too much from them, which you should, but at the same time you shouldn't. Well, if that makes sense.
That's why it's so important to, maybe everyone on here is not a Christian, but for those who know God, I always say, know the word for yourself. You should always have a standard higher than both of you to check and cross-reference to make sure that what you're being told is in alignment with what God has for you. I had a mentor who was, she was not easy.
She would not
Not
have been.
a walk in the park. She reduced folks to tears on
She-
a regular basis.
I'm not sure she has any millennial mentor because they would not take it. It would be a hostile work environment.
Oh my
They would
gosh,
not be
yes.
able to take it.
Yeah, she
The
crushed
stories
me.
I've heard, no.
She crushed me. She rolled me. But you know what? It produced a better me. I submitted to it. Some did not. They walked away. I decided to hang in and get the valuable pearls. And that's the part I would say is get the pearls out of the shells and throw away the shells. You see, the pearl doesn't start off beautiful. It's a grain of sand. It is an irritant. And it is the irritant that causes the oyster within to spin and spin and spin until it becomes a pearl that's quite expensive. The greater the irritant, the bigger and more fabulous the pearl is.
But that
And
doesn't
so-
give people the right to.
Well, I don't
root
think that anyone deliberately. I mean, I don't think people get up in the morning saying, how can I hurt their feelings? No. So I think that you also have to consider the source, and I think that was the thing that made me stay. I considered the source. I knew that she wanted me to be the best me that I could be.
There are nicer ways.
Yeah, but she was a German drill sergeant.
So
So that was her way. And guess what? That's where God put me. So
okay, yeah, wait.
perhaps
That's always an end line. Like when she says that's God, you don't have a comeback. So let's just.
maybe that's what I needed, because I was not a person who was given to taking hints. So I had to have a crash course. Some people are that way. Depending on our temperament, God chooses the chisel to, when you look at how a diamond is made, it's quite interesting that for the different types of facets, they use different types of tools. And so that's the way I look at it when I think about what people are in my life, what people he's put me under, what people he's put me over. That is what is needed in that moment. That's the tool. The tool can change. So that's the other thing. We go through seasons, and I don't need that type of talk now.
No,
because
you do
I'm much
not.
more sensitive in the spirit. I hear God very well for myself. I still have mentors that speak into my life, but not on such a harsh note. At that time, I was 21, very wild, had just left the Playboy Club, wanted to be a bunny. I had lived life on a whole other level, and a lot of things had to be stripped away from me to get to the core of me being who God wanted me to be in Him. So it took that deep discipline. They were part of a Bible fellowship where holiness was of the highest order. And they did not take kindly to you being carnal or living in the flesh. So carnality was looked down on.
It
It wasn't
shamed.
something that was celebrated.
It was like go over there.
And it was interesting because there's always a balance. Her husband was very sweet and very sanguine, and he tolerated a lot more than she did. But it was a good balance because there were those who needed that gentle nurturing, and there were those who needed the club hammer, and I was one of those for a season. But so I think that we should not despise the tools that God puts in our life unless they become abusive. Now, I'm not talking about people physically abusing you,
Or
emotionally
mentally.
abusing you, or mentally abusing you. I am talking about people who are very firm in conviction that you might not agree with, but they're in your life for that season because God is refining you.
So, what other things would you like the millennial to know?
Take care of yourself because I think that is critical. It's interesting how much your mothers don't tell you. They tell you certain things and then they don't tell you other things. They don't prepare you for menopause. They don't.
I just remembered when she told me you gray. Like you gray. Did you get it? I was like, oh, you do? She's like, yes. I'm like, why have I? It's never crossed my mind that you gray.
But your mama never told you that
No.
you get gray down there. Excuse me if that was a little too delicate for some. But this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the real talks where they tell you that you need to take care of yourself. That you need to moisturize, that your skin won't always look like that.
They will not have a
that-
skincare routine, people.
Yeah, have a skincare routine. And also even hair. your hair is not always going to be thick and lush. There are certain things you need to do to preserve your hair, and your body. Let's talk about the body. We spend a lot of time and money on the outside of the body, but we really need to pay attention to what we're feeding ourselves. We definitely are what we eat. And don't take tomorrow for granted. Tomorrow is not promised. And if you want a quality tomorrow, that begins today, because that's the other one. The choices you make today have long-ranging effects. We live in a very temporary gratification type of society. We live in a society of instant fixes, and so we have a tendency to start believing that everything is a quick fix. And as you get older, it's not. So it's very critical that you know that you're going to be here a while. And so mark your choices, think carefully about how you're proceeding with life. How do you want your life to look in 20 years, 40 years? How do you want to look in 20 years and 40 years?
Look at this, people.
That begins today.
This is art.
And I didn't do it right. I really didn't. So I'm going to have to thank my mom and dad for good genes. But even now, I'm like, gosh, I had a model friend, Coco. And I remember, back in my 20s, we went to Paris, and she loved Shiseido products. And she had this little tool that she used every night, and she would sit and she would literally. So, I was like, what's up with that? And I kind of wrote it off that she was a model, and that's what models do, But she's in her late 60s now, and she looks amazing. And I every time I look at her, I think about her rubbing her eyes with that stuff and moisturizing every night. I mean, she literally had a routine going on. And she was all about the preservation of skin and body. She didn't eat this, she didn't eat that, and she looks amazing. So that doesn't just happen. That happens through choices that we make right now, right where we are.
Yes, have a skincare, drink water, and work out.
Lots of water, not 1 glass a day. Lots of water. Our body is more than half of water. I can't remember the exact percentage right now. It escapes me, but I think it's somewhere like the 70 percentile range. And so you need to be rehydrating all of that. And it flushes away fat and does a lot of wonderful things, makes your skin look wonderful, and all of that. And I'm going to say the last thing. Well, the last thing is actually the first thing, really. And that is, be aware of your spiritual condition. Your relationship with God is the most important relationship you will ever experience. Stop looking for a man or a woman to fill that space in your heart that only God can fill, because the hole in your heart is really a purpose-sized hole. So as we become aware of why we were created, why we're here, and we fall in love with the lover of our soul, that is where wholeness is, and that is the thing that will make you master all your other life choices, your relationship choices, your financial choices. Every single choice is hinged on where your heart is grounded. And so I can't stress it enough that falling in love with the Lord and being very conscious of being godly. Weigh your actions. Would this please God? Would this make God smile or sigh? Is the question you should ask yourself. And that will help you navigate through life on a whole other level that no mentor could guide you to.
Even with that, being godly, for all the people that are looking for mentors, it's not just because the person is fine or because you like her books, or it has to be a God-ordained move for mentorship. For me personally, it's not just because I like this person, I'm like, please mentor me. It has to be like a marriage. It's like marriage.
It is.
It has to be what God put together.
Exactly.
And if you don't have that spiritual godly foundation in the beginning, it's not even going to work as a Christian, I think.
Yeah, and all of my relationships are God-appointed relationships, in my opinion. I don't just make friends with just anybody. I really am prompted by the Spirit of God. And the same thing happens in a mentorship situation. Lots of people ask me to mentor them. And this whole notion of mentoring someone long distance, I don't agree with at all, because mentorship is actually discipleship. And if we look at the model for that, Jesus walked with these people. They slept in tents together. They went through some stuff. They earned the right to speak into one another's lives. That doesn't happen over tea. That doesn't happen over dinner once a month, where you can weave any story about who you are and what you're doing and then go off and do stuff that I don't know about. So mentorship is really about the right to speak into someone's complete life, to be naked and unashamed, to walk in transparency and accountability, to be willing to take correction, and willing to suck it up sometimes, because they're not going to tell you everything you want to hear every day, but it's for your betterment. Because mentors are preparing you for the world, not just themselves. They shouldn't be preparing you for themselves at all. It's really about making you a better you so that you serve the world at large on a better scale.
Just to go back to what she said, you're not going to like anything they tell you every day. Just an ASMR. Thank you. Most of the days you're not going to like it. In fact, half of the time. Let me just put this out there. You're going to be pissed. 70% of the time. God bless you.
And that's what I deal with. So here you. And that's what I deal with.
Okay.
We'll share next time.
Okay. All right, we're done. Bye. Thank you. Please share this podcast.
Yes, if you like this podcast, please share, like, subscribe. Help us out with that algorithm business, The more you like, the more you share it, the better we get to do. So show your love and support this by liking, sharing, subscribing. And I also want to invite you to log on to my website at www.michellehammond.com. Become a part of the tribe. I've created an inner circle with 3 levels. There's the MMH Tribe, Inner Circle, and Exclusive that have 3 different levels where you can interact with me on a more personal level within those circles. So it's a place for you to network, connect with others, have a sense of safe community where you can promote one another and have a new circle of friends where it's safe to be transparent and accountable. We do Bible classes, we do girl night chick chats, we do a lot of different things. So you will want to be a part of MMH Tribe. It's a monthly subscription that keeps me in touch with you on a regular basis.
Please go on MMH website and click on MMH Academy to find the tribe. Thank you. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Michelle McKinney Hammond. Follow on Instagram, McKinney Hammond, Twitter, McKinney Hammond, Facebook, Michelle McKinney Hammond, and buy the books.
Yes, there's lots of stuff on the website for you, lots of courses and programs that you can purchase for your own personal use, master classes, lots of stuff. So log on and enjoy.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love to address whatever is on your mind on a broadcast. So why not email me at lifetalkmmh@gmail.com. Oh, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel at Michelle McKinney Hammond. Like my fan page on Facebook at Michelle McKinney Hammond. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter at McKinney Hammond for even more inspiration.